Hello and welcome to the bottom of the pitch deck. Today we have a deck profile from Aidan, who played Briar and took the champion straight to the top 8 of the Dutch National Championships. Welcome. Who are you? What did you accomplish yesterday?
Oh wow, who am I? It's a difficult question.
You. No, not me, you. Yes, I am you. Just answer the damn question.
And describe yourself as a Tekken character.
Yeah, I wish I had the hair to be Paul, but sadly not.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, I'm Aidan, Aidan Wall, and today I came 3rd/4th in Dutch Nationals, playing Briar.
Awesome. And how did you go the first day?
Yeah, so the first day I went 5-1, losing in the 6th round to my pal Victor, who was the only undefeated player.
Yes, he also played Briar.
Yeah, so it's actually funny. We're actually kind of part of the same testing team. And I originally picked up Briar because Chain went Living Legend. And I thought, what is as annoying as Chain?
Does this count as annoying?
Nah, but
I mean, it worked out.
yeah, but so I asked Vader for his list. Like, he was running, even in the time of Lightning Briar, he was kind of playing a more well-rounded kind of Earth build with Blue Earth's Channel Mount and actually paying for things. So I picked up his deck, and we both spent probably like 6 months talking about our different kind of iterations and versions, and sometimes we end up playing the same list, and other times there's deviations. But yeah.
Awesome. Let's start with your equipment. Shock Charmers is something I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, so this was kind of a question because it's really for the Icelander matchup and Kano, if you happen to run into Kano. And the question was whether Arcane Barrier 3 was efficient. So yeah, the other option is obviously Quill Hand, rather to have the Arcane Barrier instead of the Spell Void. But I kind of found myself actually trying to take a more proactive approach into the Icelander matchup, eating more Arcane early so that I can actually push a bit more pressure, especially considering, if Frost Hex Insidious Chill is their game plan. If you can just push more damage, and then on one turn, if they're trying to do a sudden, a yellow Aether Ice Vein from Storm Striders to mess up your turn, you have Spell Void 2, Arcane Barrier 2, and then you still have a floating resource to do things, pay for Frostbite, etc. So yeah, it's really just trying to gain resources against Icelander and maybe mess with them a little bit.
All right.
Yeah.
So what was your worst matchup, do you think?
I managed to dodge it the whole tournament, but Oldham is definitely the worst matchup. It's just really hard. If Oldham goes Fatigue, you can push as much damage as you try to and chip away, but there's been so many games where I've, been fatigued by Oldham and they're on 1 health, and it's like, how can I find this 1 damage? A lot of the times it's super, super difficult. I think you have to get very lucky or they get very unlucky. But yeah, one thing that this deck does a bit different to other Briar lists is that it runs a sneaky OTK strategy into Oldham, which now is actually a lot more difficult to do because they're all mid-range. So if you try to set up and pitch stack for something, they hit you with Glacial.
Yeah.
Or they hit you with Open
They
Balls.
hit a little bit harder these days.
Yeah, for sure. So, I tested a little bit into it, and sometimes you're able to do the OTK, but other times you just slowly lose. But I think I kind of preferred this strategy of like, listen, YOLO, let's see if we can do this OTK, compared to really grindy games where you're very likely to lose anyway.
And it worked pretty decent.
Yeah, to be honest, I was able to dodge Oldham, like, thank God. But the thing that's nice about this kind of package is, you run an Energy Potion, which has dual utility, also great into Icelander. You can sometimes go first, play non-attack, put Energy Potion on the table, make an Embodiment Arsenal, and, you're already ahead.
Yep. Explain the rest of your equipment.
Yeah, so the standard equipment suite is, generally speaking, Aether Ironweave, Crown, Grasp, and Spellbound Creepers. Most swaps are between Tunic and Ironweave, depending on how long the matchup is going to go. So into Dramai, Icelander, and Oldhim, you play Tunic. You're going to get more resources out of it. The game's going to last a lot longer than 6 turns. In this meta where there's a lot of aggro, like Fi and Viscerai and Briar, the Aether Iron Weave represents so much damage for me. A lot of times you'll block a Kadachi early on, and then later on in the game you can play, C and C for 9 as Chain Link 4 or something by breaking this. Breaks the Chain Link, but you get the idea. And then otherwise, Current Dichotomy, Null Rune Boots, Arcane Barrier, play it into Decano and Icelander, and of course the Shock Charmers comes in there as well. I'm still not 100% sure on this. I need to test a lot more into Icelander, but in my experience, this has been quite useful.
Okay, it's interesting for sure.
I was running a deck which was a lot similar to Vader's List, which is only Snapdragons. The plan is me hit hard, me hit Snapdragon, me attack for 7, etc., which works really great. But I just found that I prefer having the utility of doing tricksy things with Spellbound. I think the ceiling is a lot higher, and worst case scenario, it is a block for 1. Whereas Snapdragons can obviously be useful, but I love this, especially because I'm running Revel in comparison to some other finalists which wouldn't run that.
Awesome. Let's look at your site's board.
Yeah, for sure. There's some things in here that you wouldn't think would be sideboard cards. So Sonata is maybe a good point. This comes into every match except Oldhim. In Oldhim, the plan is you put in maybe another amulet, and an energy potion instead, and you bring in exudes and some other things, and so you basically want to set these up on the bottom of your deck so that you can do Channelman Heroic, Force of Nature, Exude Confidence, and pop 3 Amulets of Earth. So you're coming in.
Turn.
Yeah, so you're coming in for a 10 or 11 if the Force of Nature is fused. 11, go again. They can't play instants for the rest of the turn. If it hits, draw a card. And go again. And then you pitch stack.
Yep.
Attacks will go again. So you take these out against Oldhim, but otherwise Sonata, just a great card. With Briar, you have so many blues, it's great. You pitch into often draw 1, sometimes draw 2, and it's just
amazing.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Yeah. Another weird include maybe would be Cadaver's Contraband. This I thought would be quite good into a meta that I was expecting to be very aggressive and a meta that doesn't want to block. A lot of the times this just means if it hits, I put Channel back on top of my deck. And if you're playing against an opponent like Fi, you're playing against a Briar, you're playing against Viscerai, getting this block, and even if it's eating their equipment, that's great. Now you can play Snatch and they don't have equipment to block with it. So this was definitely a sleeper hit for me. It's just a one-off. You don't always want it. You're not always going to have Channel in your graveyard. One play which was disgusting in the tournament was I was playing in the mirror. My opponent had played Gorganian Tome first. So maybe the turn before, I Gorganian Tome to draw 2. And then the next turn, Cadaver's Contraband for 9 on hit. Put the Gorganian Tome back on top. Next turn, draw 2 again. So I think there's a lot of utility with this. And yeah, I know that I think the Reinar is starting to run it to put Blood Rush on top, but I think it has a good space in Briar as well. Other than that, Runic Reclamation. This is for the mirror. Destroys a channel on hit. Other than that, sometimes you might want to run it into Dramai. It can destroy one of their auras or burn them all, and it's a popper.
Would you play this into Icelander?
Yeah, also into Icelander, to try get Insidious Chills. That's the other matchup. It's a bit awkward because it costs 3, but this deck runs a few extra blues to bring in for Icelander, so it's doable. Then I have this rounds on me. This is for Fi predominantly. I'm still figuring out if it's good into Dramai with the dragons. I kind of feel like Briar exerts enough pressure that there often aren't dragons. maybe giving them the card isn't worth it, but definitely comes in against 5. If you go first against 5, you basically draw a card, give them -1,
Yep.
make them block, then they get no benefit. Smashing good time. I thought there'd be dash. There wasn't dash.
That's a clear, yeah.
You know, like I was asking some friends, like, "Oh, what did you play this against?" Like Kano to break an energy potion. But yeah, this is kind of sick. With Spellbound Creepers, you can do an attack and then flash this in and destroy an item. It's disgusting. And other than that, you know, just force them to block for a turn is sometimes what you need against dash.
Would you end up playing it against Icelander to break amulets, energy potions, or whatever?
I don't think so. I would need to test it a bit, but if something's gonna be cut, it might be this. Like, it really depends on the meta. Like, if dash seemed like it could be popular. Like, I tested a lot against dash. A friend of mine.
Dash is a very, very good deck right now.
Yeah, I think into Briar, it can kind of decide to go control and can be kind of annoying if you don't get your big turns.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see. Then yeah, Scar for Scar. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, we put the cards a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure thing. So yeah, then 3 Cokes of Commotion. These are usually coming into most matchups. It's just a silly card. Earlier today, I think I had a channel turn and I coaxed, drew a card, created a Quicken. The Quicken let me play a CNC for 9 with Go Again. It's pretty silly.
It's big. Yeah.
Yeah, it's silly. Erase Face, I run 2. These are great into Dash, great into Viscerai. Maybe you can play them against Oldhim. But yeah, they're...
Maybe against the Mirror? For the...
I was originally, but I don't think it's actually worth it. Turning off the Channel Earth and the Fusion is a little bit too random, I feel. So I don't run them in the Mirror, but yeah, it's a good card. Against Viscerai, if they're relying on Wolverine Skies, this is just a force block. And against Dash, if they're doing control, it's a force block. And yeah, because the deck runs Captain's Call. You can from a blue a Captain's Call on this, you can still Rosetta
for sure.
Then these are kind of just staples, aggro staples, Scar for Scar. Bring it in the aggro matchup. If you're likely to have less health, bring it in.
Amazing card. Yeah. 0 cost, 4 damage. Go again.
CNC, just
CNC.
Yeah, it is CNC. Some people maybe run fewer or a bit lower on this card, but I think Briar, you have Bramble Spark, you have Channel 9 Heroic. It's just sometimes if you can sense your opponent setting up something meaningful. These are always great at the end of a chain when an opponent says, "Okay, I'm going to take 14 damage."
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Okay, well, enjoy this." You're not going to do your 5-card turn. No. I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah.
So awesome. That's mostly the sideboard. Yeah.
Any secret tech that you found was interesting, amazing, or whatever?
Yeah. Blocking.
Blocking.
Yeah, that's
good. The secret tech.
It's secret tech. No, I'm joking. Shout out to New Zealand. But no, I do think Cadaver's Contraband is maybe a little bit slept on. I think it's just has so much utility. I've been really, really impressed with this tournament. And then, yeah, I don't know, Briar do Briar things. Me swing large things at people with Go Again and Rosetta, Yeah.
Any tips for new Briar players?
Yeah, I think, and maybe this kind of relates to the blocking joke, but I think it's okay to play Briar in a way where you're trying to set things up and not be greedy. I think there's a lot of matchups where people want to be hyper aggressive, and I think you can benefit from playing more patiently and relying on your setup and just not being as greedy. Sometimes being greedy is great, but as with any aggro deck, you pick your moments. Sometimes you just say, I will take 20 damage and I'm going to do a lot more with hit effects, and it's worth it.
See how it turns out.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Any shout outs?
Shout out to my mom.
Obviously.
To my mommy, as we say in Ireland. Yeah, no, yes, I'd like to say thanks to the testing team, you know, like Vader, Sonder, Eric, Paul, and yeah, everyone that kind of helped with it. It was like, it's kind of amazing. We got, you know, 2 people from the testing team into top 8, and, you know, Gary, who we kind of test with as well. His first big tournament, you know?
First week, second place. Awesome.
Just wait until next year, Jesus.
I'll be there.
But yeah, no, thanks so much. Yeah.
Awesome.